അമ്മ അകത്ത് കയറ്റിട്ട് ഇറങ്ങാമേ.
Hello.
Dear friends and dignitaries, good evening to all. Today, the 6th day of the International Seminar Series, titled Reimagining Decentralization in Kerala, Local Governance for a Sustainable Future. Today's theme is Climate Change and Disaster Resilience. I invite Sri R.V. Sadish for the welcome speech.
Good evening to all. I think I am audible.
Yeah.
Yes. Good evening to all. Today is the sixth day of our seminar, and today's topic is, as Srila said, climate change and disaster resilience. In this session, as panelists, we have Dr. R. Ajay Kumar Verma, former scientist, Center for Earth Science Studies, and former chairman, State Environmental Appraisal Committee, and Dr. S. Srikumar, disaster risk management expert, KILA, member Kerala State Environmental Appraisal Committee, and professor in Christ College. Also, we have V.V. Sajeevan, who is the president of Valiyaparamba Gram Panchayat, Kasargod. And we have Neha Mariam Kurian, associate fellow, Sustainable Futures Collaborative, New Delhi, and Sriram A, disaster risk management specialist, regional integrated multi-hazard early warning system. On behalf of organizing committee, I welcome all the panelist speakers to this session. Moderator of this session is Sri Shibu KN, and I welcome Sri Shibu to this session on behalf of organizing committee. Dr. Manish Jose, Assistant Professor in Public Administration, KILA, and Pradeep GS, Hazard and Risk Analyst, KSDMA, will present the background notes on this session. I welcome Dr. Manish Jose and Pradeep GS to this session on behalf of organizing committee. Also, I welcome all the participants to this session, and we look forward to your valuable suggestions on this session through message and email. Thank you. I invite Sri Shibu Kayan to moderate this session.
Good evening to all. Welcome to this conversation around climate change and disaster resilience and the background of reimagining decentralization in Kerala. So to begin the very important discussion, being a kind of Kerala being a kind of a very vulnerable to climate change as well as climate change related disasters. It's important to have some kind of perceptions around Kerala's development. Like we need to have a kind of a different perspectives around how it should be. Like with the kind of a one milestone was our decentralized governance, and from there, when we move ahead, when we visualizing our future with the facts around climate change and disaster, this is very important conversation, I think, and I welcome all the participants to join this session. And let us start with the background note on how it looks like, especially with the reference to Kerala's paradigm. I welcome Dr. Monish Jose from KILA. Over to you, Dr. Monish.
Thank you, sir. And I really thank you for the organizers for inviting me to this particular event. And I had shared my slides. So is it possible to share the slides here?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, sir. So as the moderator rightly said, I mean, we are really in a situation where climate change is not anymore considered as a myth. In fact, it has been something which we need to like really take.
Sir, mic കുറച്ചുകൂടി അടുത്ത് വെച്ച് സംസാരിക്കണം sir.
Okay. Am I audible now?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, thank you. So right now, we all know, I think we all now realize that it's something which is going to affect us. I mean, that is not what I actually wanted to say. So rather than that, this is something which need also very quick action. So it was earlier considered that maybe we can have like a very slow pace of actions, climate actions, which take us forward slowly towards mitigating the impact of climate change and also adapting according to that. But recently, the global literature says that that is not so, because we are almost towards a phase where we have to act very quickly. And specifically with respect to Kerala, I think that is very relevant when we look at the kind of vulnerabilities which Kerala is facing. I think my co-speaker Pradeep will be very much looking into the vulnerability part which Kerala is facing right now. As a state which is regarded highly for its development and also for the specifically with the human resource sector and also with all the other indicators which we have, what are the activities which we could actually take up so that we could collectively act to reduce the impact of climate change and also possibly to adapt accordingly. We do know that there are like the global frameworks which are available, but definitely one thing always the global framework specifically mentioned was regarding the importance of acting locally. And that acting locally is in a way is the only way which even the global literature which says that the by which the impact of climate change can be reduced. So we do have an advantage when it comes to that side, and specifically that is something which also fits very much into the topic of the seminar which we have. I mean, the decentralized governance system which we have, and what sort of activities at the decentralized government level can be in fact taken up or can be envisaged or can be planned so that we can make a move so that we can reduce the impact of the climate change. So definitely at the national level, we do have the national action plan on climate change, which sets a series of guidelines and also framework how every state should act, and also what the things which needs to be done at the national level. And following that, we also do have something which is called a state action plan on climate change. And the state action plan on climate change, the Kerala government recently released a new version, an updated version of the state action plan on climate change. And definitely it do have a lot of potential to know what are the activities which are being carried out at the state level, and in what direction the state should move, and which are the vulnerable districts and what kind of vulnerabilities they are facing. But definitely when it comes to the state of Kerala, what we also need is something called a local action plan on climate change. Because the thing is, most of the projects are implemented by the local self-governments at the local level by looking at the regional context. So definitely we need to really zoom a little bit in, and to contextualize that, we definitely need to come up with something which is local, and that is something which can be envisaged by having a local action plan on climate change. And definitely we do have certain frameworks for the local action plan on climate change. It has been taken up by some other countries as well. But in our case, what difference can actually Kerala state can make is because of the strength in the decentralized governance system itself, where people participation is considered as the core of planning. So in this case, what we are actually coming up with is like a two-dimensional approach. So the one of the dimension would be like downscaling of all this climate data and all these vulnerabilities which the state is right now facing, and specifically saying, okay, to this particular Gram Panchayat, this is the situation which they are right now in, and in future these and these are the situations which they might face, and they will need to develop resilience towards these and these kind of disasters and vulnerabilities. So that is coming from the science side of it, basically from modeling and also other exercises which are being done at the global level as well as at the state level, including state disaster management authorities. And the next dimension of it is largely the participation part of it. And that comes straight away from the local self-government and also from the citizens, where they can have an opportunity to plan and to be a part of the plan, so that they can actually come up with their ideas, suggestions, and also how do they feel and what kind of perceptions they have about climate change, and what are the kind of challenges which they face due to climate change. So these two dimensions put together is the local action plan for climate change. And at the end of the day, what local action plan for climate change is actually looking at is to come up with a series of solutions from the part of the local self-government, and which is also based on the understanding of the scientific community as well as from the perspective of the citizens of the Gram Panchayat. So that is how the idea of the local action plan on climate change can be developed. And definitely these series of intervention activities which are planned by the Gram Panchayats, that has to be incorporated into the annual action plan of the Gram Panchayat also. So in order to start with, I think Kila started developing the local action plan on climate change from 2017 onwards. We piloted that, and by 2021 we started piloting it in another 10 local local bodies, and definitely that had the support of including Shibu sir and also KUSAT and SDMA, DUCC, Biodiversity Board, and other collaborating partners as well. And through the Rebuild Kerala initiative, by 2020, we were able to actually scale these up so that we could actually replicate these and also to pilot this on a larger scale in the Pamba River Basin districts. That is Pathanamthitta, Alappuzha, Kottayam, and Idukki districts. And in these 4 districts, we piloted it and we tried coming up with 266 local action plans. And these local action plans, like I said, which are prepared by the local self-government, that is definitely having this particular integrated approach into that. And I think the local governments have taken this preparation of the plans quite seriously. In a way, I mean, definitely we do have to provide the technical support for that, but definitely the local self-governments are very much aware of the issues which climate change is causing, and they are like very much showing interest in actually reducing the impact of the climate change. So this integrated approach that do also have like a participatory angle in that, and this participatory angle comes actually with a focus group discussions with the key stakeholders, and there are like around 18 key sectors in which every local self-governments need to do focus group discussions so that they can know what are the impacts of the climate change and how are they perceiving it, and are there any local knowledge or traditional knowledge which can be used, are there any local solutions which are available. So these things are actually the part of the focus group discussions, and these focus group discussions are actually taking place with the basis of the scientific evidence which we developed from the first scientific downscaling of the data. So these maps will be provided to the community, and based on these maps, they will be discussing it. So in our experience, what we found out that as an outcome of it, the community were able to in fact document the changes in biodiversity and also sectoral impact of climate change, and also different disaster vulnerabilities which they are facing, and also to a certain extent they are also able to find local solutions to that also. And once we did that, the next thing which we also wanted to look into was about the climate financing part, because the climate financing part was something which was like really not very much taken up at the state level. I mean, not even at the national level, I should say. So Kerala is one of the first states which actually started to have something like a climate financing component also integrated into this particular activity. For that, the requirement which was placed was basically to come up with a tool which could be used to provide climate incentives to the local self-government. But along with the design of the tool, we started discussing and brainstorming with different stakeholders, different institutions, academic and non-academic institutions, different departments and NGOs and different players in the field. And then we realized that this tool can actually have like a multiple function, not just only as a financial incentivization tool alone. This tool can also be used for educating the public and also for capacity building of the local self-governments itself. And gradually, a dynamic tool, if you are designing this tool, can actually yearly used so that it can develop in its own way the complexity which is required, so that the local government can grow within the tool, so that they can start from like very simple climate action, and at the next year they can go to the next level, so that from a very simple act they can actually go into like the complex climate actions in the coming years. So definitely through the tool, they will be also able to, when they are doing the assessment of their projects and the kind of activities they have taken up, definitely it is also like building the capacity of the local government. See, if you're doing this activity today, you will be reaching here. But if you're taking up an activity which is a little bit more complicated than this one, then you will be reaching at this stage. So that kind of a pathway the tool can definitely provide to the local government. So based on that, we in fact designed this tool, which is called the Disaster and Climate Action Tracker tool. And basically, like I said, even though it is for the climate performance incentive grant, it also looks into the disaster management perspective of the local self-government. So we, from the perspective of the tool, we look into 3 different things. So one is the kind of activities which the Gram Panchayats are doing towards reaching climate resilience. And the second thing is the tool also looks into the kind of activity which the Gram Panchayats and also municipalities are. Yeah, in these 4 regions, even the municipalities are also considered. So the local body, the local self-governments, the kind of disaster risk reduction activities which are also taken up by the local self-governments are also taken into consideration. And the third part, we also look into the good governance part of the local self-government. So good governance in the sense, good governance related to climate mitigation, disaster mitigation and climate resilience. So for example, if the council has taken up a particular decision to reduce the use of plastic, so that doesn't need to have any financial implication, but it's purely the commitment and also the decision of the council to come up with something like that. So those kind of good governance activities are also coming through the tool, and these are also assessed through the tool. Can we go to the next slide, please? Yeah. So this is how, in fact, the local action plans look like if you put everything together in into a poster format, into like a very abstract format. So these local action plans, they do contain the data on what kind of vulnerabilities which they are facing, and what kind of schools might get affected due to flood. So these contains both data from the disaster management plan as well as from the local climate action plan. So these are put together in a way that the local self-governments can easily understand that. So I think the one which we have on display is from Koni Gram Panchayat. So if you look at the first map, the green one, so it says what are the changes in built-up area which happened in the last decade. And after that, we can also see what are the changes in the land use which happened. And then we also have the kind of vulnerabilities that particular local body is facing in the next table. And then we do have something which are the projections on temperature as well as rainfall for short term, near term, short term, medium term, and also long term. And then we have the maps which have been prepared by the KSDMA on specific disaster risk which that particular region is facing, and also the heat index of that particular region, which are the areas which are likely to be have higher heat sensitivity than the other regions. And then we do have also different vulnerabilities of schools and also hospitals with different return probabilities. And then on the next side, we look largely into the climate part of it, where we see the impact of climate change on different parameters like impact on biodiversity, impact on environment, and impact on livelihood, specifically on agriculture, fisheries, animal husbandry, and other sectors. And then towards the end is the activities which can be taken up. I mean, here it's only like an abstract of activities which are given, but as an output of these documents which are prepared by the local self-government, these parts are like quite in detail, where they say, so these and these activities needs to be taken up in so and so wards, and these kind of activities needs to be taken up in these areas. So those kind of project ideas are in fact coming from these documents. And that will be plugged into the annual action plan of the local self-government. And definitely for this, at least in this particular project, for these 4 districts, climate incentives can actually be provided for that. Yeah. And can I go to the next slide, please? Yeah, so as a result, what we found is there were around 4,600 specific climate-related projects which were actually integrated into the annual action plan by the local self-government. So that is quite an achievement. I mean, in fact, the idea of the decentralized planning and also the climate action can be integrated is something which can be very evident from these kind of outputs which we are in fact receiving. And on the other way, this also enhance the adaptive capacity and also the mitigation potential of the local body as well. And there were different focus group discussions which were held, and also a lot of series of discussions were held at the local Gram Panchayat level and also the local self-government level, in fact, which increase very much of their capacity to develop these kind of projects and to improve their understanding about climate change and also disaster risk reduction. And also the importance of local self-government as a major stakeholder or major player to reduce the disaster risk and also climate and also the involved in climate action was also very much seen as a part of this exercise, and that has been like a very good tangible output which we got out of it. The graph here, it actually shows the kind of scores which we got in fact after the assessment. So there were like few Gram Panchayat who are like performing very good, and there were also few Gram Panchayat which are actually needs improvement so that they can have more of the climate and disaster related activities to be done. So definitely, I mean, when we look at it, there is like a mixed bag of at least they are at different stages. So gradually we have to start with initiatives so that these local self-governments who has greater potential in improving can be, in fact, they can actually come up with a good number of projects which are in fact reducing the climate impact. Yeah. Can I go to the next slide, please? Yeah, so from this exercise, what we had as a takeaway for this particular seminar is definitely the participatory planning and local action plan and climate interventions can be integrated, and this can be very much operationalized in realizing the sustainable development goals and the Sendai framework at the local level. So that is something which really we learned from the strength of the local self-government system as well as the local self-government itself. Yeah. And the other thing is integrating the scientific knowledge with the local knowledge is in fact possible. And in fact, that is the way in which we have to proceed. That, I mean, one thing is the lack of high resolution scientific data specifically for Kerala. And also to reduce that particular challenge which we have, we could actually use the local knowledge which we are available, which we have at the local level by using the strength of the local self-government. And this actually demonstrates how the decentralization can drive effective climate governance in long run through these kind of action plans. And lastly, the incentivization part, the financial incentivization part for climate action, and that is also something which can actually drive climate action and to achieve climate resilience at the local level. So these are the takeaways which we learned after the effort which we did for the last few years. So definitely, I think for the future, we will be looking at making this entire exercise a little bit more simple so that the local self-government can do it within their framework itself without additional technical support. And we also wanted to look into that critical part of incentivization, which actually makes a local self-government to start acting and coming up with projects on climate action and disaster risk resilience. And sooner or later, we'll be also looking into the impact in terms of the different tangible benefits which we got after the implementation of these projects through these local action plans. Yeah. Thank you. So this is what I wanted to start at the beginning. So definitely we will have further discussion on that. So I pass on to the moderator. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Monish, for this very crisp and clear. I think like everyone knows that like climate change is one of the what do you call it? It cut across all the development sectors. And in Kerala, when we get into local planning, this is very important to gather that data scientifically. So that is going to be the biggest challenge in the Pamba Basin for the last 3.5 years. The team led by Dr. Monish Kela with the supervision of LSGD have been trying to do this. This is basically kind of a marrying two things, the scientific community with the local political leadership. So this is going to be very interesting for the future of Kerala, how this governance from good governance turns into climate governance, and most importantly, tapping the climate finance. That is also another challenge for Kerala when it comes for implementation of these plans. So this is going to make it like, I think the Pamba Basin, the experience from the Pamba Basin, the local self-governments is going to be the fueling power for Kerala in the next decade for local planning. And the direction is correct. The direction is there. The tool have been developed. The DCAT tool is there. And we already have enough data from the ground. And we have the experience, and we have created that capacity within local governments as well as the people around planning as well as implementation. So this is a kind of a direction, or this is a response of Kerala towards climate resilience in local planning and development. So let us move to the next presentation, the background presentation on to Mr. Pradeep. And a request to Pradeep is to limit to 10 to 12 minutes. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Am I audible? Can you hear me, sir?
Yes.
Yes. So, good evening. I am very much delighted to join this section on building climate change and disaster resilience through local governance. So, our approach is often seen as a living example of decentralized disaster management, where resilience is not built in offices, but every LSG's ward and community. So Kerala has always been a pioneer in decentralized governance over local self-government, Gram Panchayat, municipalities, and corporation are not mere administrative unit. They are the heartbeat of development and community action. So actually, after 2018, we realized that resilience cannot be built in control rooms or command centers alone. Because I know very well, because I am an emergency manager last 30 to 14 years. So it must begin our Gram Sabhas in our ward communities, and the decisions about land use, water management, and local infrastructure also came from the local level itself. So that is why Kerala made a strategic shift from a reactive disaster response system to a proactive, decentralized disaster risk reduction model anchored in the local self-government institutions. So in my presentation, I am focusing on where we are in PRR. So can you share my presentation, please? Yeah, next slide. So Kerala is among India's most hazard-prone yet most densely populated state. So that is why it is called a multi-hazard prone. It is mainly due to the extreme weather events and human-induced land modifications and their impact on environment. So data shows that about 14.5% is flood-prone. And according to the Geological Survey of India is concerned, around 21.4% of land is landslide prone, and more than half of the coastline faces erosion and storm surge threats. So the state slides in seismic zone 3, and lightning alone claim around 6 lives annually. So this overlapping of hazards like flood, landslide, lightning, and coastal erosion make multi-hazard risk management is essential. So actually what happened, in addition to the nationally notified disasters like flood, landslides, drought, then earthquake, tsunami, etc., Kerala faces several state-specific disasters also, which include coastal erosion. So it is a significant issue affecting Kerala's extensive coastline, threatening both the livelihood and infrastructure. Then lightning, then high velocity wind, that is what is called a gestnado. Then soil piping, a lesser known phenomena, but causing underground erosion and land subsidence in hilly area. It is also called tunnel erosion. Then sunburn and heat stroke, common occurrence during peak summer month, which rising temperature, increased heat risk. Then comes to heat wave. Though it is relatively rare, these are becoming more frequent due to the changing climate pattern. Then next, human-animal conflict, a growing concern. So these unique challenges require tailored mitigation and preparedness strategies along with the nationally recognized disasters. So this show how the state broadened the scope of disaster management beyond the natural hazards. Next one, please. Next slide. Then, in terms of vulnerabilities, Kerala faces a significant number of both natural and anthropogenic disasters. It includes 17 natural disasters and 23 anthropogenic disasters or man-made disasters. I am not going to in detail. Next one. Next slide, please. Then come to the institutional framework. The backbone of Kerala's resilience system is its decentralized institutional framework. The Kerala SDMA is the apex body chaired by the Honorable Chief Minister, is their policy making authority and coordinated DRR activities. Then the second level, there is a district disaster management authority chaired by the district collector and co-chaired by the district panchayat president. So here comes the role of LSCs, which operate the plans at the district level. Then after that, the real frontline institutions are our local self-government. They integrate the disaster resilience into the local development plan and act as a first responders. So this tiered structure ensures both vertical coordination and horizontal cooperations. Next, as far as the disaster management plan is concerned, we have two parts. One is static and dynamic. So the static part covers the framework, legal provisions, and institutional roles. At the same time, dynamic part update every year with the monsoon preparedness and financial evolving risks, etc. So it is a living document accessible online, ensuring transparency and accountability. Next one. So apart from our Orange Book, we have also published different type of SOPs for the emerging concerns, emerging hazards. That is, these SOPs are just two SOPs, that is for lightning and heat waves. Next one. So Kerala, we did a detailed hazard vulnerability risk assessment, and it is fully developed by in-house. The first version of hazard vulnerability risk assessment was released in 2016, and the second version was released in 2021. And this version 2 uses a risk indexing approach. Every LSC is ranked by the hazard exposure, vulnerability, and coping capacity. So these ranking gates fund allocation and local project prioritization to the LSCs. Then this is the risk knowledge. This slide shows the risk knowledge. We did a detailed hazard susceptibility ranking. So based on this, the local government are ranked based on their susceptibility to various hazards. Then this one is the vulnerability ranking. Local governments are assessed and ranked according to their vulnerability to these hazards. Next, this one is the multi-hazard risk ranking. A comprehensive risk ranking is conducted considering multiple hazards to evaluate the overall risk faced by the local government. Then this one is the flooding vulnerability. We have already prepared a flood return probability maps for various return periods, including 1 in 10, 1 in 25, 1 in 50, 1 in 100, 1 in 200, and 1 in 500 years. So all LSC level assets were mapped based on this, and we are widely using them for disaster management activities. So we have assessed how climate change will affect the schools, critical infrastructures, etc. Then come to the incident response system. Kerala have extended down to taluk and local set government IRS system. Is a unique feature is here. And here you can see the local set government level IRS incident response system structure. So this ensures the response coordination even in the remote areas. Next one. So in Kerala, we have our own decision support system. That is what is called the Kerala Warning Crisis and Hazard Management System. This is an intelligent decision support system integrating to the hydrometeorological sensors, forecast and SOPs. So it combines around 280 geospatial layers, then scenario libraries, then integrating hydrometeorological sensors, forecast, then SOPs, etc. Then more than 1,000 local government and emergency stations can access it in the real time, making early warning decision, and it is in an actionable format. Next one. So we have nearly 120 towers are there, and we installed the sirens and strobe lights in the towers. And these triggered from the sirens and strobe light, we can trigger from EOCs, from SEOC, DOCs and GOCs itself. And also it have the audio video alert and including pre-recorded voice messages. Then in terms of weather, water and seismic observations, so we know very well that resilience relies on the observation. So we have already 120 automated weather stations in Kerala. It is under the control of IMD. Then apart from the IMD, we have 110 SkyMet AWS weather stations. Then also we have 30 IMD and rain gauges. Then next one. Also we incorporated APIs to the cyclone forecasting agencies like IMD, NCM, WF, SkyMet, IBM Graph, etc. Next one. Then we also integrated CWC APIs to our Kavacham system, and we have around 56 water level recorders feed into the Kavacham. Then next one. Then apart from these, we already incorporated National Center for Seismology's APIs. Then tsunami. Next one. Cyclone APIs. Next one. Next one. Then lightning APIs, and also from the Geological Survey of India, their landslide early warning APIs into the Kavacham. So right now we are well equipped with the early warning and information dissemination to the last level. Then in terms of climate change in Kerala, we know very well that climate change creates multiple risks, especially irregular rainfall, heat waves, sea level rise, and saltwater intrusion are the emerging challenges in Kerala. So studies shows that rainfall extremes are increasing in intensity, particularly in Pamba and Bharatapuzha basins. The Kila and Irrigation Department is on board, and they are doing different project studies in these areas. Next one. Next one. Yeah. Then another one is our model, that is RCP 4.5 and 8.5 scenarios indicate the higher flood probability and temperature rise through the century. So this table also shows very clear that it is gradually increasing by year. Next one. Yeah, next one. These are some maps due to the time constraint. I just quickly just skip all those things. Next one. So here, as I mentioned earlier, we have assessed how the climate change will affect the schools and critical infrastructure over various return probabilities. So we mapped each and every schools and critical infrastructures in a LSE level, and we plotted in the geospatial data layer. Then we can know that this much rainfall will affect this much area, and this much infrastructure will maybe affected due to the extreme weather event. Like that, we already mapped, and that is published on the website. Next one. Then another one is the important program is after 2018 extreme weather events. Government of Kerala implement Nammal Namukkai program that will bring disaster management to the community level. So it recognizes that those most likely to be affected are also the first responders. So the program trains local teams, leverages indigenous knowledge and strengthens the volunteerism. Next one. So here comes the local self-government level disaster management plan. So actually what happened after 2019, all LSC have prepared their disaster management plan and that integrated into their annual development plans. So these plans identify local hazards, then shelters, resources, special need population, etc. Then continuous capacity building is done through KILA and DDM meeting. So this slide shows the content of the plan. I think we can skip this one. Next one. Then the most important thing is in DRR, we are mainly focused on volunteerism and inclusivity. So in Kerala, Kerala's resilient model is inclusive. So volunteers support preparedness, then rescue and animal care and counseling is very important. We have three type of volunteerism. One is Apda Mitra, second one is Samuhika Sannadha Sena, then the third one is civil defense. In LSC level, we are also have the local government level ERTs, emergency response team. In Kerala, Directorate of Volunteerism is there, and it is called Sannadha Sena. Then next one is the disability inclusiveness. Then here we have a different type of inclusiveness, or transgender inclusiveness, then disability inclusive, incorporated palliative care, then tribal DM plan. So each and everything is we have included in our DRR programs. So this social inclusiveness is make disaster response humane. Then these are the some important initiatives taken by Kerala SDMA, flood early warning system, then landslide susceptibility mapping, then different programs under Rebuild Kerala initiative, then school and college safety, hospital safety programs, then tsunami ready programs, risk informed master plans, then vulnerability linked relocations, etc. Apart from these pan Kerala programs, we have some place-based pilot project also. That is in Kanichar Panchayat, we have a living lab project. Then in Modadi, we have a heat resilience project. And at 9 coastal district, we selected 9 LSCs for tsunami ready coastal panchayat. So like that, different local level programs are also going on in Kerala. Next one. Next one. Previous one. Yeah. So in response capability, we have 17 specialized shelters over Kerala. And apart from that, 20,000 building, public building can house up to 4 lakh people. And all those shelters are we mapped and accessible to the all district. Next one. These are some IEC material we already published, and it is published through our website. Next one. Then actually, the true resilience cannot come from the institution alone. So it has to emerge from people, their participation and their own ownership. So in Kerala, we have realized that every flood, then landslide, cyclone, teaches us that resilience cannot be built for people; it must be built with people. So local government, Kudumbasri unit, fishermen, youth, and volunteers are not just beneficiaries; they are our partners in preparedness and recovery. So this people-centric integrated approach is what make our disaster management model unique and sustainable. So a system that combines scientific precision with the community wisdom. This is what we need. Next one. Then our strength of the LSD approach, that is why LSD are vital, because it is mainly due to the proximity, then community mobilization, then continuous learning, then integration of the indigenous knowledge and public trust. So their close connection with the people ensures quick, culturally relevant response and long-term adaptation. Next one. So just I noticed some challenges. They are limited and technical capacity for GIS and climate data, then fragmented database, Again, short-term funding. Although SBMA gives some sort of funding from state disaster mitigation with the LSGs, but it have take some time due to the process delay and all. So that is also some issue, and lack of standardized DRR training module. These are also to be noted. So bridging this gap is the next frontier. That is also one of the important thing. Then to conclude, Kerala's journey shows that decentralization is the foundation for true resilience. So every panchayat, every volunteer, then every community member has a role. So our collective goal is not just to respond to disasters, but to anticipate, adapt, and transform for a safer climate resilient Kerala. So thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation, Mr. Pradeep. I think the infrastructure for gathering data regarding climate vulnerability and that infrastructure is there. That has been from the state level up to the LSG level. There is a kind of a connecting or continual system has been so far we have established. That's what from your presentation we got. And there are institutional mechanisms for supporting the infrastructure, utilizing the data gathered, and then building that capacity even at the local level for utilizing this scientific data. And plus, we are also into behavior change communication, or say what you call the awareness among public about the hazard or the disaster risk. And we have some gaps, like whether mostly it is in the financial side, like the finance is going to be kind of a big problem for us in Kerala. And we need to upgrade. There are some data gaps. There are some capacity issues at the local level. These are some of the areas where we need to bridge the gap for a climate resilient Kerala. So that is the scenario. So the two presentations, the two background presentation on Kerala's the road to climate resilience. It is very clear that scientific data, scientific community is going to play a vital role in developing local plans through strengthening the local political leadership. So this is going to be kind of a very, it is not that easy. It is a bit complicated because climate change and disaster, it's cross-cutting subject, cross-cutting into all the development sector. You have to have that component in every single thing, whether it is in education to agriculture to industry, everywhere it has to be there. And utilizing, and so far I think our preparedness is like rightly pointed. It is not reactive right now. It is proactive. We are anticipating and we are trying to predict and we are also trying to activate things or prepare people or prepare, like it's a people-centric program where we are trying to prepare public, prepare LSGs and strengthening the LSGs and other systems to face the hazard, face the disasters or to mitigate the impact on it. So with that, I think this is very positive thing. So far, so much have been done. I think it is not that widely known in the public, like it is not known, but still the kind of effort has been taken by the people behind the curtain who have created all these things, including the SOPs and methodologies. This is something, a positive thing for Kerala in our future. So let us hear from our experts on this field, how this is going to be for Kerala and what are the things we need to take care of in that sense. For this, I invite Dr. R. Ajay Kumar Verma, the former Chief Scientist, NSES. Verma, sir.
Okay. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Good evening, dear Dr. Monish Jose, Dr. Pradeep, my co-discussants and respected participants of this seminar. First of all, let me thank the organizers for giving me an opportunity to respond. I am also very sad to state that today I am addressing the disaster management aspect on a day when there is a man-made landslide incident at Adimali affecting very poor people. and which shows how careless and disrespectful the learned people are to the environment and society. It's very sad. Anyway, coming back to my responsibility, I have heard both the presentations and I appreciate that presentations and their findings and recommendations. Basically, I understand the requirement of promoting ecosystem-based participatory approaches that they are suggesting in their recommendations, and also the need for integrating the precautionary and science-based approach. As such, we discuss the climate and disaster resilience mainly because the natural resilience systems are mostly tampered with, and hence we have now we have to invent systems to strengthen our resilience system. This is a fact. We have a very highly fragile state with a very high level of tampering the environmental systems. So in this context, I would like to submit that the climate and resilience, disaster resilience is pertinent to carrying capacity of a particular natural domain. So actually, carrying capacity is the basic fact. And if the carrying capacity of a particular domain is tampered with naturally, we will not have resilience to the climate changes and climate and disaster resilience. So carrying capacity of a domain is very important, and it means the supporting capacity of sustaining the natural processes and optimal development of a domain. Just because lack of the tampering with the natural processes mostly lead to landslides and such other disasters. It also incorporates the assimilative capacity of the environment to assimilate the pollution load and adverse environmental impacts. So both the supporting capacity of the resources where the natural processes are on and then sustained, and also the environmental capacity of a particular region when it is getting tampered naturally, there will be impact on that. So carrying capacity is an important concept that we have to consider when we are talking about the climate and disaster resilience. Of course, sustainable development of growth of a natural domain is limited by its carrying capacity. However, it could be enhanced by improving the efficiency and adopting appropriate technology. So there is a possibility, even if possibility of enhancing the carrying capacity of any region by having appropriate technology inputs and also efficiency of implementation tools and things like that. So carrying capacity of a domain is best estimated on the basis of natural region or ecosystem, which normally is done through watersheds. We know that a watershed is bounded by a water divide, which provides a natural geohydrological domain within which all the natural processes are confined, and resilience can be defined within that watershed. So any sort of resilience buildup need to be within an ecoregion or ecosystem, which in turn is called a watershed. Therefore, scientifically, watershed provides an ecosystem to enhance the climate and disaster resilience and to plan the disaster reduction. That's what my take is. We know that the movement for decentralization of governance in Kerala vis-a-vis the People's Plan campaign has promoted watershed-based development as a tool for natural resource management, and from there, local economic development. So we had a very major programs planned in the first, second, or third year of the People's Plan campaign. However, we could not progress well as the sustainable planning system due to various factors. The watershed program did not get converted to a sustainable planning system at that point of time. That's mainly because the LSTs could not hold on to an institutional system required for the conventional and watershed programs in its classical procedure, in addition to the evolving institutional changes pertaining to decentralization. Because the local self-governments were evolving as a system of administration, system of governance, and in between, we did not have adequate capacity to incorporate the classical watershed procedures into that particular system, and so we could not continue with the ecosystem consideration for local level development at that point of time. It was also affected because of the lack of technical knowledge at the local governments. In fact, to start with, we had voluntary technical corps to support the local governments, but in turn we had to do away with that because it was not appreciated much by politically at that point of time. However, later there has been various real-world success of watershed program when it was attempted not as a conventional procedure, but as a tool for solving certain natural resource management problems. One of the examples we can quote is the Katakada experiment, where the watershed development program started to address the water shortage problem in that area. From that, the watershed development program that has commenced there has switched on to various local level development programs addressing the water security issues there, along with many other development issues, leading to local economic development to some extent. So from the presentations, as well as from our experience, it is necessary that we need to enhance the technical capacity and expertise to use modern scientific tools at the LST level, along with expert agencies for technical empowerment, coordination, and capacity building for a sustainable development future for the LSTs, especially for addressing such risks as climate change and disasters. But it's also a fact that irrespective of the support that can be given at the state level, how long the LSTs will be able to thrive on with these supports to have a system build up of their own. Therefore, it is necessary that they have to have their own sort of resilience build up within their local governments. So, in the background of Kerala's strategic decentralization, technical and financial empowerment potential of local institutions, like we have so many systems to support the local governments like ILA and the disaster management authorities and such other various organizations. Efforts taken for anticipatory actions in the face of ongoing climate extremes, like the local level disaster management plans prepared. So I thought of putting forward certain suggestions while reimagining the local governments for a sustainable future. So I think that linking R&D institutions and scientific departments of universities based on appropriate framework as their additional responsibility to sustainable development of the state is an essential thing for the future, because they have to have expertise generated from the nearby areas. We have so many R&D institutions and university departments who could support these local governments within a framework if it is supposed to. Then we have to rethink about the technical support group, which was originally planned in the People's Plan campaign, which I feel that now it is much more relevant, because multitudes of programs at the local government level, and some of which are very, very important and time bound, like climate and disaster risk reduction. So there need to be local level experts, especially involving the local colleges, schools, and other institutions who are approachable by by the respective local governments. And there need to be very specific capacity building and orientation for these TSTs to address various issues that are that are posed to the local governments for their sustainable development. Then there has to be specific drive for capacity building of the working group on climate change, disaster management, and biodiversity to address the pertinent local issues. This particular working group is almost dormant, and they need to be provided with good ideas, and they have to be made working as a working group. It's also necessary that the local governments have to avail the skilled services of local educational institutions. For example, under the auspice of Navakeralam Karma Paddhati, Haritha Kerala Mission, a large number of higher secondary schools are now having water quality monitoring. It's very important that the water quality is known for the local areas, so that they will be able to plan the health surveillance program, etc. So it will be useful. And for many other environmental degradation studies and things like that is useful. Is one of the examples that the educational institutions can contribute and send that. That is, in the present scenario of environmental fragility of the state, it is necessary that every panchayat, every local governments, whether it is panchayat or local municipality, they need to know about their environmental state. So preparing an environmental state in a participatory mode, like we prepared the people's panchayat level resource map. So they will be able to prepare a state of the environment report of LSTs based on ecosystem watershed concept, which may include participatory mapping of vulnerable areas, which will address disasters both in various places. This could lead to long-term integrated plans and differential implementation plans. Differential implementation plans, I mean that various different programs culminating at the local governments can be planned based on a long-term integrated plan of the local government. While implementing these plans, certainly necessary that in the new days of environmental fragility, it has to go through an environmental screening so that environmental management plans, which are required for incorporating into projects which may have impacts, adverse impacts, to be known. So environmental screening is another important aspect that has to be built into the system. In such areas, it would be good to have clubs of elderly experienced people, experts, for monitoring and evaluation of the development programs that are going on, which includes resilience build-up for climate and disasters. It's also necessary that we think of discussing the local development plans at the local college and school levels. For LSDs as their laboratory and developing demand for skill. So skilling at the school level and students and teachers learning LSD development as a laboratory. Then it's also important that scouting for appropriate technologies, new technologies, evolving technologies, and avail transfer opportunities of those technologies through appropriate self-help groups promoting local employment. So these sort of suggestions probably we may have to think of while reimagining the future course of actions for local governments as a sustainable development system, especially within the carrying capacity of each of the local governments, considering the ecosystem concepts of watersheds. So this is what I thought of submitting before the participants. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I think the key thing which you mentioned is all about having a kind of a focus on watershed-based development and carrying capacity, basically the carrying capacity of the ecosystem. And then the suggestions, one of the highlight I think is technical support groups, as well as making the working groups work. Most of these working groups, not just on environment, but for many other sectors as well, it is basically dormant right now, but activating them in a very proactive way for a better planning as well as implementation is very important. So that is also a kind of a very welcoming suggestion. And I think one of the core thing is linking the R&D institutions as well as schools and colleges with the local planning and involving them. That is the one area where we are actually having a kind of a slightly hesitation from the political leadership. And we have seen that like the successful models of environment rejuvenation programs, where we have seen that it is in a campaign mode with a kind of a political leadership. So that means where there is a political will, all these things can be coordinated into a kind of a successful action plan. I think these are some the valid suggestions. I think very important suggestions for us to look for while we develop a kind of a approach paper for Kerala's climate resilient and development with a focus on decentralized governance. Thank you, sir. And I'll just move on to Professor Sri Kumar. And just before moving to him, let me just check with the participants. For the want of time, can we just extend it to 20 minutes more? Because we are just lagging on something. I don't want to cut the speakers primarily because these all are very valuable points, and I want to get those points from the experts. So I think if you don't mind, we can just extend it for 20 more minutes, and I'm just going to, so the floor is open for Professor Sri Kumar.
Good evening, everyone. At the outset, I appreciate the organizers for arranging an international seminar on this aspect. The previous speakers have provided a comprehensive overview of disaster management and climate change action in Kerala. Dr. Ajay Kumar Verma also mentioned about the importance of watershed in climate action as part of the climate action program. And when we talk about the disaster history of Kerala, you know, we have to keep 2018 as the milestone. Before 2018 and after 2018, you see that a lot of events have frequency of disasters have come, and also the climate change, also extreme rainfall events have also increased. So after 2018, actually the local self-government is put in the driver's seat, I can say it like that. The role of LSG in such situation, emergency situations, is proven after 2018. So 2018, 2019, we have the flood and landslides in different areas. And even the pandemic, during that pandemic period also, you see that how LSG, all the local self-government played a very crucial role in managing and also the response mechanism. The role of LSG in such situations, you know that we can say that the efficacy is already proven. And after that, you can see that we have a new working group for the disaster management and climate change, biodiversity and environment. And the role of this working group, that is the 13th and 16th for the Grama Panchayat and also for the urban, the municipalities, you see that the role is very well defined. So their role is, they have to play a very important role in the the disasters and climate change that is happening in the local domain. And we had prepared 2019. We had prepared the DM plan. That may be the first state in India. You can see that all the local self-government has got the disaster management plan. Kerala is a model to other states in India for decentralized approach to disaster risk reduction. And the DM plan is prepared scientifically and with people participation. And it is prepared after the focus group discussion with different stakeholders. And now we ensure that this DM plan should be there, that should be updated every year, and that must be submitted to the DPC for approving the annual budgets. And later in 2021, Dr. Monish said that the local action plan on climate change, that also we have prepared for Pamba River Basin. 266 local self-government has prepared the local action plan on climate change. Now, some of the districts, some of the local self-governments in like Thrissur and also in Malappuram, they also come forward to prepare the local action plan on climate change for the first time. So these are all changes that is taking place in the local level in Kerala. And the KSDMA, Shri Pradeep has also already mentioned about the Orange Book. And what is the responsibility of each department before the monsoon and also, just before the summer? What are the things that we have to do for the different departments? And particularly for the LSG is also mentioned in that one. So there is no scope for the confusion, what to do for the different for each department. So when we talk about the extreme weather events for the disasters to happen in Kerala, so we have to mention about the ecosystem degradation also. It's a contributing factor that is aggravating the situation. And you see the urban sprawl is extending from lowland on the west and highland in the east, altering landscapes, exploiting land resources. All these are, we have to go for a climate resilient urbanization. That is the need of the hour in Kerala. The state has initiated a holistic approach to sustainable development by integrating nature-based solution and also the spatial planning, and introduced the risk-informed master plans for some of Pathanamthitta and all, the municipalities where we have started the risk-informed master plans. And also we can see that the active involvement of women self-help groups during different episodes. You can see that the shelter coordination, afforestation activities, data collection, public health monitoring, everywhere you can see this kind of active involvement of the women self-group in Kerala. And Dr. Monish mentioned about the DCAT tool. So DCAT tool is something that we have developed in Kerala to assess the disaster and climate action carried out by local self-government. And project initiatives that resist, absorb the shock, quick response, recover, climate adaptation and mitigation intervention. So these are the things that the local self-government has to give emphasis. They can evaluate themselves, understand where they are standing by using this DCAT tool. So they can improve, they can go for new projects, and they can get better score by using the DCAT tool. And one thing, what we see is, as part of the Rebuild Kerala initiative, we have done mock drills. Some 21 mock drills we have conducted, covering 178 LSGs the last year only. And that has increased the responsibility of LSG committees, and also testing that tested the capacity of emergency response team and the locally available resources in local government level. And they could find, examine the interagency departmental coordination, what to do, when to understand the weak links. So, by using these mock drills, we were able to do all these kind of exercises. But still we have got challenges. DM strategies, disaster management strategies are not updated to new climate realities, actually. We have the DM plan, but that should be updated every year. But I don't think that all the LSDs are not doing that. So that must be updated every year, and you need the new climate challenges, realities that should be incorporated in designing the projects in their local self-government. Then the second thing is the micro level hazard risk mapping. The scale of the map is still we have got problem. The local self-government people, they are not able to read these kind of understand the maps that we are providing. So what we can do for that, the ward level map, whether we can go for that, we have to think about that one. Then early warning system strengthening, that also is a must, that we are not able to flood level and landslide. For that one, we are still we are not able to give the warning for these kind of disasters. Another challenge that we find is limited access to real-time disaster information. Even though warning is there, you see that the water level is increasing or something like that. You see that to disseminate this information, we have got the early warning dissemination system in local government. But how to enhance the capacity of this the early warning dissemination system? That is also a challenge that we find now. Now, the non-availability of trained emergency response team, that also we have to, that's a challenge for us, because we have in the list, in the DM plan book, we have got the emergency response team, the list is there. But how many people are living in their local self-government jurisdiction? Many people have gone to any foreign country, or still some people are not there. So that kind of gap is there in the ERT list of the DM plan. Then, of course, the limited fund in local self-government is also a problem in many cases. So we have to find the other fund, source fund also for meeting this disaster management action. That the last part is the way forward. What are the things that we have to concentrate? One is the climate resilient infrastructure, building costs appropriate to local risk. We have to go for that one. Landslide zonation, land use zonation, not for the present climate scenario, but for the future also, that we have to make. Then comes the last mile warning dissemination and the risk acceptance of administrators and public. That's a big problem. So what we can do? So in the grassroots level, we have to, give some kind of awareness for them. They hesitate to evacuate even after getting the early warning. So what we can do? So we have to give awareness the local in the grassroots level. Then remote areas connectivity challenges still there in different parts of the hilly districts. That is another thing that we have to account for. And already the updation of DM plan, that the real updation must take place, and the ERT list should be updated, and annual training for the emergency response team is also must, particularly as the frequency of the disasters are increasing. And the regular mock drills, we have standard operation producer. KSDMA has already standard operation produces procedures for the mock drills. So scaling up this initiative to the entire state, we can do it in a cluster ways, as we have done in Pamba River Basin. So that is that also we have to think about. The technology integration, that is very important, using the modern technologies like AI and machine language and all these, the IoT and all these things must be part of the disaster management activities. And rightly said, academic collaboration is very important, because a research institution cannot do all the kind of, say, for example, the mapping and other things in the ward level. So we can go for academic collaboration in this kind of drainage mapping or sonation, like that part of work. Then we have the disaster climate resilient, for agriculture, livelihood, fisheries, and also the livestock. So that part also we have to give important, because that is the main livelihood part. We have to give emphasis for that part also. Then other source of fund, how we will meet. The LSD must find other sources from the CSR fund, CER fund, and also the district mineral fund is there. So we can utilize that fund also for the disaster management activities. Then, as already mentioned, the technical advice. There must be some expert panel in the block level or the district level, so that when an incident or an event happens, these people must go there and give some suggestions and expert opinion regarding this one. Then at the last one, I want to mention is the inclusive DM plans. Ensuring that the DM efforts are inclusive. We are doing much effort in this one, but other state people are also living in different camps in municipalities and other panchayats. So we have to develop some inclusive DM plans for that one. That is also very important. So that is the one. Then our intention for what you call the decentralization and effort is very high, very strong. But we have to improve a little bit, and we have to develop grassroots level awareness, because people must know, the local self-government authorities, and also the people also must know this kind of things. So that is it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable suggestions and identifying the gaps where we are. I think one of the major thing is, just because we don't have enough resources in terms of enforcing or even implementing plans, that is one major thing. And if you look at most of the environment programs, like any planning, this is heavily banked upon the volunteers. It's all volunteers are like, it's sporadic. Like if there is a political leadership, there are some volunteers, and you do the work and you come up with some document, and then the document rests with the local government. And there is no continuous permanent institutional mechanism which can activate itself. That is a kind of a larger gap. Like while you were just pointing out the gap, that is what I see very clearly from many points you have pointed out. So this is like banking upon, like volunteerism is good. Kerala have achieved a lot with volunteerism, but at the end we need to consolidate it to make it a kind of a foolproof system which can work its own. Otherwise, you always require a kind of some kind of a push from different corners. That is the thing which we see. Like many of the documents prepared are the documents prepared for the sake of document, not for a kind of a, in many places, that's what we experience as well. But I think the suggestions on especially the trained emergency response team, as well as remote area connectivity and risk acceptance. So that is again a kind of a larger issue where people are not willing to accept the fact that the risk element is there. But so those are the things where we need to work a little bit more. Now I move on to, I welcome Mr. Sajeevan from the President of Valiyaparamba Grama Panchayat to respond to the presentations.
Sir,
Yeah.
Sajeevan is not available. So
Okay.
his video is available. It will play.
Okay, all right.
കാസർഗോഡ് ജില്ലയിലെ ഒരു മത്സ്യബന്ധന ഗ്രാമമാണ് വലിയപറമ്പ്. 16.14 സ്ക്വയർ കിലോമീറ്റർ മാത്രം വിസ്തൃതിയുള്ള ഈ ദ്വീപ് പ്രദേശം കായലുകളാൽ ചുറ്റപ്പെട്ട് കിടക്കുന്നു. മത്സ്യബന്ധനവും ടൂറിസവുമാണ് ഇവിടുത്തെ പ്രധാന വരുമാന മാർഗങ്ങൾ. കടലിനെ ആശ്രയിച്ച് ജീവിക്കുന്ന ഒരു കൂട്ടം ജനങ്ങൾ ഇന്ന് മാറിവരുന്ന കാലാവസ്ഥാ മാറ്റങ്ങളാൽ കടൽ കയറ്റത്തിൻ്റെയും തീരശോഷണത്തിൻ്റെയും ദുരിതങ്ങൾ നേരിട്ടുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുകയാണ്. വർദ്ധിച്ചു വരുന്ന ഇത്തരം ദുരന്തങ്ങളെ നേരിടാൻ വലിയപറമ്പ് പഞ്ചായത്തും പ്രദേശവാസികളും ചേർന്ന് ഒത്തൊരുമിച്ച് ജൈവ പരിസ്ഥിതി അധിഷ്ഠിതമായ തീരസംരക്ഷണ പ്രവൃത്തികളിൽ ഏർപ്പെട്ടു വരികയാണ്. അതിൻ്റെ ഭാഗമായി 24 കിലോമീറ്റർ തീരപ്രദേശത്ത് 75,000 കാറ്റാടി മരങ്ങൾ നട്ടുപിടിപ്പിക്കുകയുണ്ടായി. മഹാത്മാഗാന്ധി ദേശീയ തൊഴിലുറപ്പ് പദ്ധതിയുടെയും നാട്ടുകാരുടെയും സഹകരണത്തോടെയാണ് ഇത്തരത്തിലുള്ള ജൈവ പരിസ്ഥിതി അധിഷ്ഠിത പ്രവർത്തനങ്ങൾ നടപ്പാക്കി വരുന്നത്. തീരത്തിന് ഒരു ഹരിത കവചം എന്ന പേരിൽ നടപ്പാക്കിയ പദ്ധതിയുടെ ഭാഗമായി കാറ്റാടി മരങ്ങളുടെ വിത്തുകൾ ശേഖരിക്കുകയും അത് താത്കാലികമായി നിർമ്മിച്ച നഴ്സറികളിൽ വച്ച് തൈകൾ ഉൽപ്പാദിപ്പിച്ച് പ്രസ്തുത സ്ഥലങ്ങളിൽ നടുകയും ചെയ്യുന്നു. അമിതമായ ചൂടിൽ നിന്ന് ഈ തൈകളെ സംരക്ഷിക്കാനായി തീരത്ത് നിന്ന് ലഭിക്കുന്ന ഓലകൾ മടഞ്ഞ് കവചം തീർക്കുകയും ചെയ്യുന്നു. കാറ്റാടി മരങ്ങളുടെ വേരുകൾ നാരുവേര് വിഭാഗത്തിൽ പെടുന്നവയാണ്. ഇവയ്ക്ക് ഉപരിതല ഈർപ്പം ലഭ്യമാണെങ്കിൽ മണ്ണിലേക്ക് ആഴത്തിൽ തുളച്ചു കയറാൻ കഴിയും. കൂടാതെ ഉപ്പ് കലർന്ന അന്തരീക്ഷത്തിനോട് പ്രതിരോധ ശേഷിയുള്ളതാണ് ഈ മരങ്ങൾ. ഈ പ്രത്യേകതകളാണ് അവരെ കാറ്റാടി മരം തിരഞ്ഞെടുക്കാൻ പ്രേരിപ്പിച്ചത്. ഇതുമൂലം സ്വാഭാവികമായുള്ള മണൽത്തിട്ടകൾക്കും മറ്റും നാശം വരാതെയും ജീവികളുടെ ആവാസ വ്യവസ്ഥയെ ദോഷം തട്ടാതെയുമായി സംരക്ഷിക്കാനും ഇവർ പ്രത്യേകം ശ്രദ്ധിക്കുന്നു. 10 വർഷങ്ങളായി തുടരുന്ന ഈ പ്രവർത്തനത്തിലൂടെ തീരശോഷണം ഒരു പരിധിവരെ തടയാനായിട്ടുണ്ടെന്ന് ഒരു സംശയവുമില്ലാതെ പ്രദേശവാസികൾ പറയുന്നു. നശിച്ചു പോകുന്ന മരങ്ങൾക്ക് പകരം പുതിയവ വച്ച് പിടിപ്പിച്ചും പരിപാലിച്ചും തീരത്തിന് ഒരു ഗ്രാമം ഒന്നാകെ ഹരിത കവചം തീർക്കാൻ ശ്രമിക്കുകയാണ്. 1 സെന്റ് സ്ഥലത്ത് ഏകദേശം 40ഓളം മരങ്ങൾ വയ്ക്കാൻ സാധിക്കും. ഒരു മരം വയ്ക്കാൻ ജൈവവേലി ഉൾപ്പെടെ ഏകദേശം 127 രൂപയാണ് ചിലവ് കണക്കാക്കി വരുന്നത്. ഇതുപോലെ തന്നെ തീരസംരക്ഷണത്തിനായി പ്രാവർത്തികമാക്കിയ മറ്റൊരു പ്രവർത്തനമാണ് ഉയർന്ന മണൽത്തിട്ടകൾ നിർമ്മിച്ച് കയർ ഭൂവസ്ത്രത്താൽ ഇവയെ കരുത്തുറ്റതാക്കി തീർത്ത് പിന്നീട് മണലവര ചെടികളെ ഇതിനു മുകളിൽ വളർത്തുകയും അതുമൂലം മണൽത്തിട്ടയെ കൂടുതൽ ദൃഢമാക്കുകയും ചെയ്യുന്ന പ്രവൃത്തി. തീരശോഷണ സാധ്യത മുന്നിൽ കാണുന്ന പ്രദേശങ്ങളിലാണ് ഈ ജൈവ സൗഹൃദ സമീപനം പഞ്ചായത്ത് സ്വീകരിച്ചിരിക്കുന്നത്. ഇതുമൂലം തീരശോഷണം തടയാൻ സാധിക്കുമെന്നാണ് വിലയിരുത്തുന്നത്. കണ്ടൽക്കാടുകൾ പ്രകൃതിയുടെ കാവൽക്കാരാണ്. വൈവിധ്യമുള്ളതും നിരവധി സവിശേഷതകൾ ഉള്ളതുമായ ആവാസ വ്യവസ്ഥയാണ് ഇവ. പ്രകൃതി ദുരന്തങ്ങളിൽ നിന്ന് തീരത്തെ സംരക്ഷിക്കാനും വിവിധ തരം മത്സ്യങ്ങൾക്കും ജലജീവികൾക്കും ആവാസ വ്യവസ്ഥയും കണ്ടൽ വനങ്ങൾ പ്രദാനം ചെയ്യുന്നു. കണ്ടലിൻ്റെ വേരുകൾ മണ്ണിനെയും മറ്റു വസ്തുക്കളെയും പിടിച്ചു നിർത്തി കരയെ സംരക്ഷിക്കുന്നതിനൊപ്പം വെള്ളമരിച്ച് ശുദ്ധമാക്കുകയും ചെയ്യുന്നു. ഒരുപാട് ഗുണങ്ങളാണ് ഈ ഇത്തിരി കുഞ്ഞന്മാർ നമുക്ക് തരുന്നത്. തീരസംരക്ഷണത്തിനായി വലിയപറമ്പ് പഞ്ചായത്തും പഞ്ചായത്തിലെ ഭൂപ്രകൃതിയെ മനസ്സിലാക്കി ഉചിതമായ പ്രദേശങ്ങളിൽ കണ്ടൽ വനങ്ങൾ സൃഷ്ടിക്കുകയും പുനരുജ്ജീവനം സാധ്യമാക്കുകയും ചെയ്യുന്ന പ്രവർത്തനങ്ങളിലാണ്. കണ്ടൽ ചെടികളെ നഴ്സറികളിൽ വളർത്തി അവയെ പരിപാലിച്ച് ഈ ഹരിതവനങ്ങളെ തീരദേശങ്ങളിൽ നട്ടു വളർത്തുകയാണ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. അവിസീനിയേസിയെ, റൈസോഫോറേസിയെ എന്നീ ഫാമിലികളിൽ പെടുന്ന ഉപ്പട്ടി, ഭ്രാന്തൻ കണ്ടൽ, പനച്ചിക്കണ്ടൽ എന്നിവയാണ് ഇവിടെ പ്രധാനമായും നട്ടുവളർത്തിയിട്ടുള്ളത്. ഈ പ്രവൃത്തിക്ക് ആവശ്യമായ പണം മഹാത്മാഗാന്ധി ദേശീയ തൊഴിലുറപ്പ് പദ്ധതി വഴിയാണ് സമാഹരിച്ചിട്ടുള്ളത്. കണ്ടൽ വനങ്ങളുടെ സംരക്ഷണവും പരിപാലനവുമെല്ലാം നാട്ടുകാരുടെ സഹകരണത്തോടെ നടന്നു വരികയാണ്.
Thank you. So we have seen how a participatory program by local government can bring in changes in restoring the environment. So that's the small video has showcased, and I would like to move to Ms. Neha Miriam Kurian, Associate Fellow at Sustainable Futures Collaborative in New Delhi, to respond to the presentations. Neha, the floor is open for you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. So thank you for this opportunity to be part of this webinar today. And I'm really happy that we are doing this conversation on how local self-governments are getting more and more involved in disaster management and resilience building. I myself am happy to have been part of many of these projects that were mentioned by the distinguished speakers before me. I would just like to respond and make a short intervention regarding the points that were mentioned. So one is that the speakers before me, they mentioned various projects and efforts which have been taken by Kerala and Kerala's local self-governments and other departments over the last couple of years, especially since 2018, to build climate resilience in the state. Some are, of course, much more institutionalized. For instance, like the state's disaster management plans. We know that there was a detailed guideline, etc., that was brought out by the state government, by both the revenue department and the local self-government department, to institutionalize the making of local self-government level disaster management plans in the state. Also, the state DM plans also. These are much more institutionalized, simply because there is already an existing system through which we were able to do it. And then the whole process was also brought in through a government guideline and instrument. However, we also know that there are other certain projects which were mentioned today by the speakers before me, especially Dr. Monish Jose had mentioned about this very interesting project of DCAT. There is another project that is associated with it, which was the risk-informed master plans. These were all very innovative and especially pioneering efforts by Kerala to actually bring in climate resilient development in the state. But one thing I would like to just point out in that regard is that even though these are very, it's very important, the actions that we have done. However, these projects remain project-based, and they are not as institutionalized as the other efforts that I mentioned earlier, which was also elaborated upon by our speakers earlier. This distinction, I believe, is very critical going forward, because many of the challenges that my co-speakers mentioned are also linked to this, because we all know the issue of data gaps. We all know the institutions of funding gaps that are also the issue of technical capacity gaps at the local self-government level. These are all issues we know cannot be solved perhaps by local self-governments alone. The state government is right now doing a lot of efforts to actually support local self-governments in it, especially not just the LSGD department, but the KSD, the Kerala State Disaster Management, the Revenue Department has been doing so much of action to support the local self-governments and being the nodal agency for coordinating these activities at the local self-government level. However, how do we going forward ensure that this attains little more continuity, and how can we ensure that it becomes more embedded in the system itself? So just to hark back to an example from waste management. So waste management, we know, is something that finds more presence in legislative frameworks as well. So myself, I'm coming from a legal background. So waste management, we know that there is a national level framework, and also at the state level, we have the Kerala State's laws, that is the Kerala Municipality Act and the Kerala Panchayat Raj Act, which are all amended in order to ensure that the local self-government's roles in this were clearly defined, and it became much more binding upon the people as well. However, when we come to climate change, no such instruments exist. We know that the Disaster Management Act exists, but that is mostly only relating to disaster management and not to climate change as such, though a lot of actions are being taken under it. So in that sense, we need to understand how perhaps a legislation can also do its huge part in actually institutionalizing the actions that we are talking about right now. At the organization that I am currently representing, the Sustainable Future Collaborative, we are actually doing this sort of exercise across different states in India to understand how bringing in a legislative framework can actually strengthen the processes that all states are doing, especially as far as Kerala is concerned. We know that there are a lot of efforts that we've already been taking. The ecosystem-based disaster risk reduction, which Valiya Pramba just presented now, is an exceptional manner in which we were able to utilize funds from Manrega, leverage those funds in a manner that they use for increasing disaster resilience in the state. So at the local self-government level, but this is a project that was done across the state. So the DCAT example, the local level disaster management plans example, all these are exceptional examples that we have. However, how do we present this to a larger audience? How do we show that we have done it? How do we ensure it survives and becomes embedded in the system in the long run and does not just stick to being projects? How do we ensure that? We do need to look at more institutionalization for that. So thank you again for giving me this wonderful opportunity, and I'm so honored to be here. And thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Neha, for reiterating the institutionalization part of the whole process. It's true that this is still running on a project mode with some interest, with if there is an officer or there is a political leader who have some interest, then it is running as a kind of a campaign, and that is what happening right now in many places. But making it a kind of a more institutionalized or embedded within the system, we need some kind of legislation, or we need to just reconsider the legislative frameworks as well as how to use that for making it more institutionalized for sustainable action on climate, building climate resilience for Kerala. Thank you for your suggestions, and so let us move to the speaker, Mr. Sriram from Disaster Risk Management Specialist, RIMES.
Thank you, Shibu sir, and all the organizers for inviting me to be part of this. I feel proud at times and honorable, honored when the speakers were presenting a few of the projects that are currently up and running. I myself was part of many of these initiatives in my initial years of engagement with different projects in Kerala. So now, that gives me that opportunity to kind of zoom in and zoom out. Now I'm coming out of the state and looking at it from a larger picture. It gives me that opportunity to kind of see it from a zoomed out view. So I will not take much time, but then I would like to reflect on the two presentations. So one thing, and I don't want to reiterate whatever my co-panelists or speakers were presenting. Coming to the initial presentation on LabCC and DCAT, like as the UNDRR slogan for this year goes, like we need to kind of focus on more of resilience investment than going into more of disaster spending. So even now, like the LSG budgets are doesn't have an earmark funds for something like risk informed or a risk reduction, preparedness, or something like an ecosystem restoration. Rather than that, it still works on the post disaster relief, or resilience is seen as an infrastructure. It is treated as an infrastructure rather than it must be treated as an infrastructure than being a contingency view. Then, as Neha was pointing it out, we have an institutionalized setup at the LSE level with the working groups, with the government involved in many of the local planning. But then I would go a little more ahead, and maybe the LSE's annual plan and the 5-year plans should have an incorporation of the climate and hazard risk screening. And that also, like when the resilience actions, when we talk about the resilience action and mainstreaming the development, this development as a concept needs to come from a viewpoint as to development is for whom, on whose cost, and why is that development needed, specifically to that particular local context. So this shouldn't be a separate exercise as to they have decentralized. It shouldn't be a separate access, but then it should have a more of a kind of a ridge to valley approach. This shouldn't be focusing on to one particular panchayat alone or a municipality alone. It should have a better kind of a view, a bird's eye view as to a landscape approach or a basin approach kind of a thing when it comes to institutionalizing the climate responsible local planning. It's not just for a specific administrative body, but then as on a larger scale, on a watershed basis, as Ajay Kumar sir was saying. So that was my kind of brief on the initial presentation. Now coming into the disaster management perspective, we have data. We have data coming up in various forms into disaster management portal. But then still, how user-friendly are these resilience data or whatever disaster? We have these one in a 10-year, one in a 25-year, all these jargons being put in. But then this needs to come out as an early warning for all. This shouldn't be a very complex process as to not something that can be converted into an actionable insight. Only decision makers can understand kind of a thing. But then it could be kind of that risk transfer could be given to the communities. The last mile could be connected with the information gap that exists. So rather than going with the jargons in the data resources, we could operationalize the statewide something like a geo resilience portal, like how Monish sir was portraying the climate data for a particular panchayat. Maybe if we can kind of operationalize it into a statewide for a local use kind of a thing, it would be grateful. Also, like I myself being a master's in disaster management professional, now there are a lot of academia, a lot of research people coming into this sector, be it climate change, be it disaster management, be it resilience, be it urban planning. So we have a lot of resources available. So somewhere we need to kind of create a district or a block level resilience technical cells. So something like hand-holding the LSGs with the essential early warning support or the translation part of those jargons into simple concepts. So maybe we need to kind of create something like technical cells in a block level or in a district level or in a taluk level. Then, of course, Valiyaparamba has showcased the eco-DRR concepts. This is again, we in Kerala, we utilize the MG Narega scheme to like utilizing the local funds, the innovation grants. We, as we saw, we are doing much better than any other states on mangrove restoration, soil and water conservation. The Katakada project was said by Ajay Kumar sir. So such small initiatives happen in silos in certain areas. So we need to explore those areas where this could be kind of taken in and brought in a synergy. If we can kind of bring in more departments into the proper channeling, then this could be brought into different places. Rather than it exists in silos, it could be kind of brought into different context on different concepts. Then coming to next point is a generic point, which is an outcome based. Like any point that we have spoken about today are all fund driven. So most of the time it is output based results that we focus on, but then it should be more of outcome based and people centric monitoring. So it should have a component of tracking the risk reduction, and a generic ecosystem health needs to be analyzed at each and every point. Like what has happened in Churalmala or in Mepadi, that is very specific to certain places and that need to be treated in a different way. So such kind of water resource restoration, or rather than looking at the expenditure in terms of labor days, or number of works or number of expenditure in terms of money, we need to kind of put the accountability on resilience. People should be given a little say on what or how the resilience is faring in their part, rather than not looking into just the finance part of it. So it should be more of not on outputs, but on resilience. And there is also a need for the empowering the communities. I understand Kerala is doing much better than many other states, but then we have our own resources like the local groups. There are n number of farm help groups, as somebody is mentioning. We have women's self-help groups, we have youth networks. These people can themselves interpret certain alerts and kind of trigger local responses, rather than the government coming in and telling them what to do, what not to do. The local interpretations act faster. We have experiences, we have examples from right from 2018. We have been doing much better, but then this could be made much better with more of empowering the communities and kind of creating co-managers at a local level, be it at ward levels, be it we have the 13th working plan, but then we need to kind of make it more materialized. We need to kind of pump in more funds into the 13th working group, so that there are people who are willing to work. We need to kind of utilize them to the core. So these would be my kind of reflections and as a way forward or a pathway to resilience. And once again, I would like to kind of thank the opportunity given. And very happy that I myself see the projects that I was part of being portrayed as flagship programs of the state. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Sriram, for that reflections. I think rightly suggested around that a technical cell, like there are much, like if you look at all the reports, there are jargons, that's true. And that jargons need to be translated into like for the last mile connectivity, like the people, finally it is the people who are facing it and people who are working on it, and that need to be translated for them. And we need a kind of a reliance technical cells. That was your suggestion. I think that is something very important. And most importantly, many of the projects, like they are project based or campaign based, they are happening at silos in different places. And how that will be sustained. So that is going to be the other question, like how to maintain that continuity and how to expand it to other places. Like Valiyaparamba, for example, it is there. We don't know like what happens after the next elections when the next council comes in. So these are some of the challenges which we see in enforcing like or going ahead with climate resilient planning. This is a completely new area for our conventional political leadership at the local self-government level. But at the same time, the kind of efforts so far the government has taken to build that capacity at different levels, including agencies at the state level, to provide technical support as well as guidance. So that is something very positive. I feel like in this conversation, I think like one of the major milestone, I would say, is the local level action plan, that is the local level climate action. Like, right, we have like a kind of a Kerala state, we have a state level action plan on climate change. So now we are also going into Lab CC. That is actually a kind of a big step in understanding the issue. That is the most important part. What I feel like it's the most important part, to understand and accept the fact that there is risk, there is disaster, or like there is the climate change issues there. So that is something is the first step. So that is there. And DCAT is going to be very crucial for the planning, like even at the experimental level, we see that kind of a change. We see the potential of DCAT tool to ensure its environmental sustainability. And at the same time, like looking at from the carrying capacity perspective, that is more important. So you have, we have local level action plan. We have a tool to ensure that the plans and projects are interconnected, and is also addressing the climate and disaster resilience. At the same time, we may have to expand it a little bit more on the ecosystem carrying capacity. And I think the last speaker, Sriram, was mentioning about like that is going to be a bit difficult for everyone on development for whom. So that is going to be the question, like a screening every development project at the local self-government. There is a screening, like whether what is the impact, what is the outcome, for whom this is going to happen. All these valid questions are there. So we need to create those kind of systems, institutional mechanisms within the local government, and empowering them is at the next level. And this is going to be a kind of a continuous action, and we need a kind of a continuous interaction, especially the academia as well as the technical people in the state to provide the technical support for our local self-government. This is completely new thing for them, and with the kind of, the local government, the councillors, the panchayat members or the municipal councillors, the city corporation members, who all are, they have their own aspirations about their own local area, but when it comes to a kind of a larger watershed area, this has to have a kind of a bird's eye view to plan and to implement projects. There are some gaps, but yes, we are far ahead when compared with other states in India, and we have created some milestones, and we have created some capacity, and it is time for us to consolidate as well as advance this conversation to bridge the gap. And I think we need solid finance per se. It is not, we cannot just depend upon some little money coming from some sources. We need a kind of a budgetary allocation. A stronger finance will support a stronger institutional mechanism that will lead to a stronger action plan. That is one of the major thing in the DCAT tools. There is an incentive for the local governments to take it up. So thank you all for participating in one of the very important aspect of Kerala's reimagining Kerala in local self-governance, or the governance. So that was again a very fruitful conversation, and I thank every single person in the panel for this for your valuable inputs, and we'll be compiling these inputs into to make it as a kind of a position paper to be advocated with the state government. Thank you, and thank you all.
Yeah. Hello. Thanks to all presenters and the speakers. So participants are requested to participate tomorrow. The subject is advancing fiscal decentralization. The presenter is S.M. Vijayan sir, IAS retired. So thanks to all once again. Good night.